Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Sparta!
All your days are belong to us.
It's a trap 9000!
Stop collecting all of us.
Leave Benny alone!
Leroy Dragon!
Objection!
The balls are inert.
Time to
Limousine sedan.
And now it begins.
Okay, guys, if you're listening to Twitch, that's why. That's what that is. We're live here on Nerd to Know basis, Phoenix 92.5 FM. We listen to this on Phoenix 92.5 FM. It is Saturday, and you're more than welcome to join us. We're a little bit different this week. Finally upgraded the equipment, Kane. So no one sounds like a robot this time. So happy days. But
I rather like the novelty of that. I thought it was cool.
Fair enough. We'll break it out for special occasions then. Just break the equipment. How are you keeping, sir?
Very well, thanks. A bit of a slow news week after the explosion that was the San Diego Comic Con, but looking forward to our own one coming up in the next week or two. What about you, sir?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, man. I've been busy. I've been very, very busy. Finished up in college finally. My odyssey with college is almost over. We're nearly there.
Nearly there.
So, I'm not dead yet, but I feel like it. It's getting there.
I completely understand. And actually, I finally found time to see the Spider-Man Far From Home.
Ah, yes. What do you think?
I loved it to bits. It took a while to warm up, but I loved all the twists and turns. I loved, I won't go into spoilers, obviously, but that horror sequence
it's very good
in the second act really made the film for me. I loved it. I thought it was better than the first one.
I agree. I think it was one of those movies that gets better on subsequent viewings. I've seen it twice. I really enjoyed it the first time. It is very, very slow, but then it kind of builds up, and I thought the emotional punch as well was quite good. I watched a review where someone kind of rewrote the movie from the perspective that Edith didn't make any sense, and that he believes that the Iron Spider should have been the MacGuffin of the movie.
Oh, I see. Okay, well that's not entirely fair to any movie. Like, no movie should live up exactly to your specific expectations.
For sure. Like, I see his point now. To be fair, I'm like, I kind of liked the way they went, and I wouldn't have changed it, but the way he said it was basically, if Mysterio got the Iron Spider costume, he would actually have superpowers, in the way, and I'm like, okay, that kind of, and I'm just like, okay, you're just nitpicking for just the sake of it, but it ties into something later on, which I want, I'm expecting an interesting reaction to. I've done some thinking about Joel Schumacher's Batman series.
Okay, we're starting off the controversy early this week.
No, we're not. We're going to hold that over. But I want to whet people's appetite to it, because I watched a video that is very entertaining and also kind of has altered my opinion on most of it. But also, again, I grew up with those Batman movies, not Batman and Robin, but the most clear Batman movie that I can remember as a child was Batman Forever.
Oh, yeah.
So I do have a soft spot for that, but we're not going to get into that just yet. We do have a lot to kind of get through first before we get there. You're saying it's a slow week, man. It's not really. Like, I was going through it, I'm like, we talked about this year, and then after I did some research, I was like, well, there's actually quite a lot. Going to talk about The Boys as well. At the moment, the best thing which you can watch on TV. We'll get to that. But before we get to it, we are not this Sunday, next Sunday is our panel at Dublin Comic Con. Next Saturday it starts full, so if you haven't got tickets, guys, go get tickets. It's going to be great. You're going to be there the full weekend, Keane. I'm probably going to be there the full weekend as well.
Yeah, look out for the parents dressed up as the 1st and 13th Doctor respectively, and the little baby in the pushchair TARDIS. That'll be us.
I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah, and the good news is we got cards as well. So we have Nerd to Know Media cards. So, if you want one, pick them up, guys.
Very exciting.
Yeah, we're going all out this year. And, I don't usually get excited until, like, the day of. But we'll try to get Olivia on the show next week to kind of hype up the show. And what people can expect at Dublin Comic Con this year. But let's run through it, Keane. You printed off the list of what people can expect. So give me the rundown there. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Well, obviously, the first thing of any Comic Con is the guests. We have Pom Clementif, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 onwards. Are you a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy yourself?
Oh, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be super fun. So, definitely a good grab there.
Yeah, so she has a talk from noon on the Saturday, so definitely want to go to that, kind of a question and answer type thing. She was also in the Black Mirror episode, Striking Vipers, about the kind of the two guys who fall in love while playing the, what would you call it, Street Fighter type game? Yeah,
that's the way I'd put it, alright.
So she was the in-world fighting character in that, so very excited to meet her. There's also Lou Ferrigno at 2 o'clock. You know him, the original Hulk from the TV series in the 70s?
Yes. And not only in the 70s, but also he does the voice for the Hulk in the MCU, and also does the voice in the cartoon series.
Really? I didn't know about the cartoon series.
Yeah, he's still, not of Bruce Banner, obviously, but of the Hulk, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
So he's still the Hulk.
Yes. My only kind of experience with him outside of the Hulk is he plays the world's strongest hero in Adventure Time or something like that, some sort of legendary figure.
Right. No experience with Adventure Time, but I'll take your word on it.
If you need a good laugh and a good nightmare, Adventure Time's good for that. Those would be the guests. Oh, you go on first, sorry.
No, so they're the guests that you're looking for, is it, in particular?
Yes, but we also have, I'm not entirely familiar with their backgrounds. We have Alex Sinclair, Richard Brake, and Roger Clark as well, as far as the guests go in the talks. Any of those names ring a bell for you?
Alex Sinclair, not so much. I know he's a comic book guy. He's worked with Jim Lee and stuff. Name that sticks out to me, though, is Richard Brake. I think I talked about this. He was in Doom, and he also was the Night King.
Yes, we did talk about this at length, yes.
So that's going to be cool. Roger Clark, I know he's the voice of Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, game I haven't played. But, if you're a fan, whatever.
Oh, well, it certainly is the year of Red Dead.
Exactly.
In that case, for anyone listening at home, Alex Sinclair is at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Lou Ferrigno is at 2 o'clock. Richard Brake is at 3 o'clock. And Roger Clark is at 4 o'clock. So those are the Q&As running through most of Saturday there.
Yeah. How's Sunday looking?
Sunday, we have, at noon, we have Holly Marie Combs. And Charisma Carpenter, who I believe are from Buffy and Charmed, respectively, or possibly the other way around. Unfortunately, I've missed out on Buffy and Charmed growing up, but I know loads of my friends are very excited to meet them. Yeah,
dude. Well, Buffy is good. Angel's a better show. Watch Angel.
All the funny clips I've seen over the years, like A Dance of Joy, has been from Angel, funnily enough.
Yeah, and Charisma's actually in she plays Cordy in both Buffy and Angel. So, if you haven't seen both, I would say as an adult, as a kid watching Buffy's fantastic, but as an adult, Angel's a much better show. So I would say, man, go watch Angel.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, they are at noon and 1 o'clock on the Sunday. And there's also Patrick Warburton at 2 o'clock. These are the Q&As, by the way. If you want to meet them, they will be doing signings throughout the days. But as far as the Q&A panel things,
right?
Patrick Warburton, who I suppose most people would know him from Family Guy as Joe, but he's also Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove, Lemony Snicket in the Series of Unfortunate Events, voiced in loads and loads of things. He's on at 2 o'clock. He was the guest who very graciously stepped in when the actor who played Luke Cage couldn't make it. So I'm definitely going to go to him to support him.
Well, that's someone who I'm actually looking forward to meet. He also played the Tick as well in the original TV show.
Yes, of course, the Tick. How can we forget that?
So I'm actually he's someone on my list to meet anyway. Him and Charisma, I think, are the two I'm going to hit. I also love The Emperor's New Groove, so I'm like, yeah, kind of have to. But I think Patrick Warburton is going to be packed out. I think that's the one that's probably going to have the longest line.
Yeah, funny enough, I would have guessed Paul McClemency, but I think you're right, actually. I think he's been in so many shows and franchises that mean a lot to people.
Yeah.
Definitely, you'll be fighting in the queues to try and meet him.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you mind if I give a shout out to some, because we're going to be there, do you mind if I give a shout out to some other events that are happening?
Go for it, man.
Well, on the Saturday, we have a few interesting things looking like this. So we've got horror and manga and Japanese pop culture at 11 on the Saturday. Are you into anime, Japanese culture in general, that kind of stuff?
Very much so. I am very much a weeb.
Ah, yes, good. Okay, we have to ask Bryn if he's a weeb too, so
He
we
is.
can rename the podcast.
He is.
The Weeb Collective.
The Weeb Collective. Oh Lord.
For people who are looking to get more into the industry, we actually have a few things. We've got Portfolio Prep and Social Media, hosted by Rob Carey. We have Games and Education. That's on at 1 o'clock still on Saturday. UFOs, Ireland's Best Kept Secret.
I'm going to go to that. That's going to be whopper. I can't wait for that. I just saw that there. I'm like, I'm going to that. I don't care.
Yeah, it's either going to be brilliant or awful.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll have Ray on the show afterwards. It'll be fantastic.
Oh, definitely. Let him make his case. For people who want to crack into voiceover, there is a panel at 3 o'clock on the Saturday hosted by David Keegan and Stephen Lynch. And after that, there is an animation panel at 4 o'clock. So Saturday's events, apart from the Q&As, seem to be very centered on people who want to entrepreneurially, sorry about that, get involved in geek culture and all that kind of stuff. Any other events jump out to you from the Saturday there?
Oh man, like I didn't read this beforehand, but definitely the horror in manga, Japanese pop culture, I have to. I think that'd be great. And the UFO one, man, that's, you know, but also, you know, I know Rob, who owns Subsidy, so, you know, I'll probably pop in and have a look at that. So.
I didn't realize it was that Rob. Oh, okay, Rob, fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to try to be there too.
Like I have to say, the thing about panels, and Bryn and myself did it last year or the year before, where we did every single panel. It's exhausting. So you know what? I'll have to see how we do it. But there's 3 of us this year, so I think we'll be able to hit all the panels.
I see. We'll make a plan, will we?
Yeah, we'll make a plan and see what there is. But no, definitely the 2 there that really stick out to me are the horror one and the UFO one. I think that's fantastic.
Well, I'm sincerely sorry. I forgot I had a second page here. So also on the Saturday, in a separate room, panel room 2. You're going to love this. Harry Potter and its role in education.
Oh my god, I need to show up to this.
You'd be very brave to go to that after the last 2 weeks. Good luck with that. Selling Indie Comics, hosted by Casey Pierce of SourcePoint Press. So more people who want to get involved in the industry. One I'm looking forward to, Star Trek Discovery after 2 seasons, hosted by USS Cuchulainn. They're the guys who always host the... You know, that Star Trek ship you can sit into that's been there at Comic-Con the last few times?
Yes.
They're good people. I'm definitely going to go with that. Making Friends by Swinging Swords at 2 o'clock on the Saturday.
Why not? Why
not? Writing for Comics 4, so more stuff for getting into comics. How to Get Into the Industry, hosted by Digit Games.
Okay.
And
actually, hold on. There's been a change. Apparently, that panel now is the Harry Potter quiz.
Really?
Yeah, not joking.
So, are you just going to give a Saturday a miss if it's all this Harry Potter stuff, or? No,
I just need to wait for my shirt to arrive, and then I can go. No, yes, there is no shirt. There is no shirt. No, I just you know, out of that list. There's not a whole heck of a lot there that I'd be interested in. To be fair, I do kind of I do want to check out the Making Friends by Swinging Swords. I think that's super fun. And Writing for Comics 4, that might be worth checking out. But you know, the cool thing about it is, and I think what they've done this year with the panels, and I do have to hand it to them, they've made them extremely diverse, as in like there is literally something for everyone in all these panels. So that's class.
Yeah, and I will say I won't go into full detail on Sunday because I know you've got a lot to talk about.
Right.
But Sunday has lots of cosplay, Comic-Con stuff, competing in cosplay, how to make your first costumes. So yeah, all the kind of comics, games, making stuff seems to be on the Saturday, and we are certainly on the Sunday. And there's also going to be a lot of kind of smartphone games and your first costume stuff on the Sunday. So yeah, it seems to be a nice range of events, a nice range of guests. So I'm very excited for this year.
And here's the thing though as well, like what I will say, if anyone who hasn't been to Comic-Con before and they're kind of like, oh, is it going to be too busy, go Sunday. I'm not just saying that because we're on Sunday, don't think that. I mean, like, personally, Saturday is always crazy, and it's always where, you know, we're always really busy because we're trying to do all the press stuff and that. Sunday, you know, I usually pay myself to go in, and, you know, I don't go in as a member of the press. This year is different because we're doing a panel, but usually I just kind of go, yeah, I'll just, you know, go in and hang out. But can I give a shout out to somebody actually who has something at Comic-Con this year as well?
By all means, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so if you guys want to purchase things, and there's lots of great vendors at Comic-Con always, but go over and find my friend. Her shop is called Not the Beads. You can check her out on notthebeads.com on Instagram. Yeah, it's a clever name. And she does some fantastic jewellery, so you can kind of get necklaces, bracelets, earrings, the whole shebang, all across the board. She is going to be there throughout the whole Comic-Con, so go check her out. Not the Beads, notthebeads.com, Not the Beads Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so there you go.
And you bring up a great point. Even if none of these events appeal to you, like just traveling around the floor and seeing things is fun in and of itself. I think twice we've brought my friend and his young 6-year-old to Comic-Con, and for her it's been like Disneyland, following getting pictures with characters from Moana and supporting all of the local kind of businesses and stuff. Like, we got a commissioned art piece of her in her costume. Like, there's absolutely loads and loads to see. I cannot recommend Comic-Con highly enough.
No, and look, you know, I've been going to Comic-Con, you know, ever since it was out in Swords and out further went, and it's grown from strength to strength. You know, when we have Olivia on, it's always something I make a point of saying to her that, you know, they've done such a great job. You know, you don't have to be into all this kind of stuff. And look, you know, for years I didn't go to panels. I was just like, oh, I just like walking around, and then I realized, oh wait, the panels are actually really good. So that added a new layer. You know, I think it depends what you want to go for. You can spend 2 hours in there. You can spend the whole day. You can spend the whole weekend. I think if you haven't gone, go. You know, it's an experience that isn't like anything else. You know, personally, I enjoy the Gundam building. I think that's super fun. But the problem with it is, I already have so many Gundam kits, but I always walk away with 2 or 3 anyway. So at least
that is not a bad problem to have, though.
It is, though, when you have like 6 and you're like, I don't need any more of these, but you still buy one anyway.
Look, I've been watching Evangelion all week. They've just put it back on Netflix. I can just say I could do with a few more Gundams. Send them my way.
Oh, fair enough. Asking you shall receive. But you know, I do like the fact the way you can build that kind of stuff. I haven't done any of the tabletop gaming myself because, you know, it's just we just haven't got time. There's just so much. But do go, guys. If you're on the fence and you're going, oh, I don't want to go, it's worth it. You won't regret it, and you'll want to go back. So yeah, that's gonna you know, we'll put a pin in the DCC stuff there for a while until next week when we do our final push. Again, we are doing a panel at it at 3 o'clock on the Sunday. If you can make it, great. If you can't, boo you. No, if you do want to contribute, you can email us at nerdtoknowmedia.com. nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com, or nerdtoknowmedia on Twitter is how you can get your suggestion in as well. Cian, let's switch gears here, man, because, you know, we do have a lot to get through, and we're 20 minutes deep, so let's get to it. I watched one of the best shows I've ever seen this week.
Okay, tell me all about it.
Right, and I did not expect the show to be as good as it is. It's a show called The Boys, right? This is The Boys, yeah. It's based on Garrett Ennis' book, you know, and these books were given to me 4 or 5 years ago. I subsequently sold them. I wish I didn't sell them, but I just didn't have the room, you know. I sold them, but or I gave them away. I don't remember which one. Anyway, the point is, I had read them anyway and really enjoyed them, but I didn't think any more of it, you know. And then this show popped up. I'm like, oh well, okay, they're actually going to go with the boys as a series. Now, it only has 1 season so far, 8 episodes, so it's not a very long show. And I think it's probably going to be 4 or 5 seasons, to be fair, because you know they've only scratched the surface of this world, right?
Well, I've kind of heard that it's a anti-superhero type show. So why don't you tell us what it's about?
Okay, basically, imagine the Justice League as people, and not only as people, but they're kind of a-holes, right? So they don't really care what happens. They're more about looking good as superheroes. They kind of do whatever they want, right? So you kind of get this new dystopian view of a superhero, right? So I'm not gonna ruin too much, but the wheels in motion and what gets the plot going. The Flash stand-in literally runs through the main character's girlfriend. Right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's graphic and horrifically violent, and you're like, oh my god, and he doesn't care. He just doesn't care, right? So that's what's, and then Carl Urban shows up as Billy Butcher, and he's like, hey.
All right, I'm sold. Carl Urban's in it.
I know, that's what I was like, I really want to see what they did, but Carl Urban, he gives one of the best performances. He shows up and he's like, hey, my job is to make Supes pay for what they've done. And that's what the boys are. They're kind of like they hold the Supes accountable for what they've done, and they're trying to like unravel. They're basically a rogue CIA group. It's fantastic.
Okay, so it's kind of taking the angle of like the cleanup crew. It's like it's about from the point of view of people who've been messed about by superheroes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic. It's fantastic, dude. It's so good. Now it is extremely violent. It's the language is unreal, and you know, there's some distressing scenes in it. Okay, but it is what it is, right? I would say if anyone is a fan of Justice League as well, I think they really enjoy it, because there's there's a Superman stand-in, there's a Batman stand-in, there's my favorite character actually is a Wonder Woman stand-in called Queen Maeve, and I was like, that's great, you know. But there's some very standout scenes in it. Like there's I'm not going to ruin it too much, but there's a part where they're trying to save they basically redo 9/11. Where they go in and they're trying to save this plane from being hijacked, and you know, yeah, it sticks with you.
Holy moly! Well, it's funny actually, because a friend of mine has seen it, and he's been deliberately watching it slowly because he's been enjoying it so much.
Yeah, I kind of ran through it. Yeah.
The way he described it, I was getting vibes of like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, very kind of like, as you say, Superman stand-in being this authoritarian type figure, all that kind of stuff. Would they be fair comparisons?
Kind of, but not really.
Okay.
Because it's not. I think they're too simplistic. This is very layered. It's very, very layered, right? Like, for someone who wasn't into comics so much, or who had a base level comics, I'd be like, hey, this is what it's kind of like. But there's so much more going into it. And remember, it's a TV show, right? So the world feels alive. It's one of the best superhero things I've seen ever, because it feels real. You actually care about the characters. I care more about all of these characters than I care about most of the MCU. All right.
That is high praise.
I know, and
wow.
here's the reason why, Kane. It's because they feel real. You understand what they're doing. They're not just doing it because they want to do it. They actually tell you why. They're like, hey, here's what happened. And then there's the crazy twists, but not in like really annoying twists. Like, they subvert your expectations in such profound ways. You're like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming. And I read the books. That's the worst part. So I was like, I shouldn't have. Well, I was so into it, and I'm like, where are they going with this? And they change enough to keep it fresh as well. Like, there's a whole big character arc where is a superhero, and his whole thing is like being a Jesus freak. But he's gay, and you're like, well, what? This is crazy, you know? And it's just like, and you know, it kind of goes through the hypocrisy of all this kind of stuff. Homelander, who is like the superhero, main superhero, is the Superman stand-in. You know, he's a psychopath. Like, he's absolutely insane. Like, and basically they kind of take on the point that he wasn't raised by Ma and Pa Kent, so he doesn't care about anybody. He just pretends like he does, and then that's it. But there's some other fun stuff in it, and it kind of, you know, even with those two characters that I've outlined, that's such a massive departure and anything we've seen before, even in movies like Brightburn and stuff like that, where you're like, wow, they're really kind of breaking this down, what it would be like in these circumstances, you know, and, you know, they end up going in and, you know, the terrorists end up getting superpowers. So you have literal terrorist super villains. You're like, whoa, what's going on? And the way they set it up, it's not silly, because you're like, okay, I can't talk about it or it's will ruin it. But basically, how that happens is not how you think it is. Everything that you think that is going to happen, and all the beats that you expect from a superhero show, doesn't happen. It's completely different. So, but not in like an annoying way. It's very rewarding. It feels like it makes sense in the story. Like, yeah, because they take a lot of time to build up the world, to build up these characters, and every move that they make, you're like, okay, this makes sense. But the twists are like, it's not like, oh, you thought of this. No, it's like, in this world, this is how deep we're going, because it's like, that's the difference between a good story and a bad story, is nuance. You know, the real world is based on shades of grey. This thing is all grey. No one is good. Everyone is bad, just in different levels of it. You know, like, Karl Urban is the protagonist, but he is so brutal, it's unreal. Wow, okay. And this is a Garth Ennis thing, isn't it? Am I misremembering that? No, you're correct. So, you know, if you've read Preacher, or you know about Preacher, it out-preachers Preacher in some points. In the book. Well, he's very good at sort of, I mean, you already said subverting expectations, but he's very good at taking tropes and things and pushing them in different directions, like. Yeah, and the thing about it is, though, right, like, the books get very, like, there's an analog for the X-Men that gets really dark, which I'm not going to talk about on the radio because it's very dark. Oh dear. Yeah. And I'm like, how are you going to do this? How are you actually going to do that in a show? Because it's crazy, you know. So look, watch it. I think you'll love it, Kane. Anyone who's listening now, you know, you won't be disappointed. It's one of the most rewarding shows that I've seen, because it's what I wanted. You know, I wanted something like this for a very long time. I didn't realize it was going to be the boys that would do it. I thought it would have been, you know, a good Justice League movie. But actually, here's something that's funny, right? So in the world, it's a brand, right? So Vought International is the corporation that basically handles the superheroes, okay? But they send them on their missions and do super things, but then they also handle their movies. So in this universe, superhero movies exist. Oh, okay. That's a neat little feature. And all the superhero movies are a joke about the DC cinematic universe. Oh, wow. Okay, that's got me hooked already. And it's funny because Seth Rogen is a producer, but he also shows up as a cameo as Seth Rogen is one of the directors of the movie. And you're like, this is just great. Like, it just has these little pins throughout it where you're like, this is just great. They know exactly what they're doing. Now, the question would be, Kane, could this TV show exist 10 years ago? Yeah, but it wouldn't hit. Well, actually, you kind of beat me to the point on my next question, is that could this TV show exist on television were it not for streaming services? Because it's on Amazon Prime, right? Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. And look, you know, Amazon Prime, to be fair, I have Amazon Prime because it's basically free shipping. And it's cheaper, you know, that's the reason why. But the actual service itself is quite good. I'm actually enjoying it more than Netflix. That's the truth of it. I was meaning to pick it up just to watch Good Omens, which I've heard good things about as well. Good Omens is great. The Purge is really good. I really enjoyed that, and The Boys. So we're 3 for 3. I can't remember the last thing I watched on Netflix that I enjoyed. Well, Picard is coming up as well. They've nabbed Star Trek off of Netflix. Oh, that's true. That's very, very true. So yeah, look, you know, it's cheaper. It's cheaper. It's like $750, I think.
Yeah.
And that's because
sorry, you go first.
Sorry, it's cheaper as well, and that's because Amazon own the servers that Netflix runs on, so they're saving overhead there, pass the save and dry onto you. So look, if the choice is Netflix or Amazon Prime, go for Amazon Prime.
Okay, well, it's just to kind of talk about the show again. Like they've kind of last week we saw a trailer for the new Watchmen series, and they've kind of beaten them to the punch as far as what Watchmen represents. That sort of answer to the
but see,
superheroes ruling the roost at the moment. Thing.
See, I think what they're going with that show is they're going for a more political take on the alt-right or whatever, where they worship Rorschach, and Rorschach is in the comic he's very, very right-wing, and
yes
I don't, not to get into that or anything like that because that's outside the scope of the show, but I think that misses the point of the series, to be honest with you. I would like if they had went this direction with Watchmen. I was going to watch Watchmen because I'm a fan of the comic and I love the movie, but from a more straight-laced deconstruction of what would actually happen if superheroes were real, I think The Boys hits it. It's like, a lot of people would die.
I think you're right, because Watchmen's been around long enough that it has a weird mythos to it.
Yeah.
That it's hard to kind of just take on its own, because now those characters are as popular as Batman and Superman and all that kind of stuff. I think The Boys is definitely a brilliant thing to have in the media landscape at the moment. Yeah,
and it's clean as well. It the way it sets itself up. It sets itself up to be an analog for the world, but it has stuff in it where you're like, oh, okay, like the 9/11 thing. That thing hits so hard because you're like, this was something that was thought of. Like, oh, if superheroes are real, why didn't they stop? Would they stop 9/11? And they talk about it, Spider-Man. And now you see what would probably happen if superheroes are real. You're like, wow, that's so dark, it's unreal, and it's so chilling as well because you're just like, oh my god, this. This is it disturbs at a very deep level, and it's very effective. On a lighter note, though, Simon Pegg is in it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he plays an American, and it's so funny. Just to see him, you're like, he doesn't actually. A lot of the guys in this don't look like themselves. Whatever way they have the light and stuff like that, they kind of don't look like who they are. And Simon Pegg, it took me a while to kind of, go whoa, because I think they aged him a bit as well. And he plays one of the main characters' dad, and you're like, oh well, okay, that's a choice there, Simon. But I enjoyed it. Look, Haley Joel Osment's in it as well, which is hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, he plays
This is the AI kid, is it?
Yeah, and the I Can See Dead People.
Okay, God, it's funny that I've been playing Kingdom Hearts again for the first time in a decade, and I think he's the main character in that too.
Yeah, well, when he popped up in it, I was like, oh, well, okay, this is kind of strange. But he actually has a pretty big role in the first series. And he plays a superhero who can read minds. And he goes off into, like, into the Comic Con scene. So that's where you meet him. He's at a Comic Con, and you're like, what? This is so crazy. So, look, it just works, for fans of, comics and nerd stuff. It has everything you want. It really does.
Yes, and even for perhaps people who are getting a bit tired of the superhero thing, it seems to cater to that audience as well.
Exactly, and it's the perfect time for it. It's a show that that came out of nowhere. People are fawning all over it, and I really regret giving away those comics because I'm probably gonna have to buy them again. So that sucks. But definitely worth your time. Yes, so something
else. I look forward to checking it out.
Well, let me know what you think, man, when you watch it, because I think you'll really enjoy it. All right.
Excellent.
So
you mentioned that because I remember before we did a little kind of chat before we went live.
Yeah.
That you had like a whole shopping list of things that came out this week. I'm still a bit in the dark. What else has been happening?
So I want to get a bit controversial now.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So some background, right? When I was a kid. I was, a big fan of Batman, still am. It's basically the comics that I buy are Batman comics. Came across a video by Patrick H. Williams. It's for video listeners, for video whoever watching the stream now. There's a clip on the Twitch now. If you go to Nerd Ducks and nerdtoknowmedia.com, you'll be able to find the link. But I was a big Batman fan. Loved, probably shouldn't have seen the first two Batman movies as a child, but I did.
Yeah, but most people did.
But I don't remember them, right? I don't remember seeing them. My memory of Batman on the big screen kicks in around Batman Forever. I remember everything about Batman Forever. I remember, the toys in McDonald's. I remember the car. I remember how I had the Batmobile. I remember the Kiss from a Rose song. Everything about it. Even the terrible, oh my god, terrible Batman Forever game on the Sega Mega Drive, which is the worst.
There was a Batman Forever game?
Yeah, it's awful. It's so bad. So bad.
Oh my god, all I remember from Batman of my childhood is I remember the Batman and Robin Pogs coming with cereal, and that's about it. I don't remember any of the other media from that time.
Oh well, yeah, no, but I had the Batman Forever game until a couple of years ago, and I sold it into Rage. They used the same Mortal Kombat functionality, and it just doesn't work. It's terrible. Like I do yourself a favor, just watch a video of a review of it or something. Don't play it, don't buy it. It's so bad. The Batman Returns game is actually very good, and the Batman game itself, Revenge Joker, is really good too. But yeah, so I never really hated Batman Forever, right?
Would you say it's aged well?
Well, that's the thing. This video called "Learning to Appreciate Joel Schumacher's Batman" is actually a very, very good take on the whole thing. And it's not that it's aged well; it's that we can appreciate it now, right? So, I remember the reaction to Batman Forever wasn't a bad thing. People really liked it. I loved it because I was a kid.
It was definitely more kid friendly than Batman Returns, even though that one's my favorite.
Yeah, well, it's not only that it was more kid friendly. It was more kind of had more of a style to it. Like Tim Burton's was very its own thing. Joel Schumacher kind of took it. Like I loved the way Gotham looked in those movies. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gotham has a really cool overtone, like really, the neon gothic. It looks like a comic book, right? And that's something that the modern movies don't really have, where it just kind of looks like Chicago because it is. And that was something that I liked. I liked the look of the Batman Batmobile car. But the thing about it is, as we got onto the Batman and Robin stuff with the crazy vehicles and the bat nipples and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, look, by the time Batman and Robin came out, it was a completely different thing, and I think it was misread in such that people were expecting the Dark Knight. They were expecting the brooding Batman, and they didn't get that. They got basically 1960s Batman.
That's a very fair comparison. Like, it's very bright and colourful and campy, and there's a Batman credit card and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
but there's also there's other things as well, Kane. Like Uma Thurman basically takes off as a drag performer, right? And that's the point that this guy makes. He's like, a lot of this it's shaded in gay culture overtones, and you're like, okay, that makes sense, and it just seems to be that like people got upset that it was so vibrant. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, okay, right, that makes sense. And then he says that the reaction to it was everything that Batman and Robin did, they didn't do in X-Men. The first X-Men movie came out 3 years later.
Right.
And that's why it's so dark and grey, and they kind of, they even make a joke, in it, would you want to wear yellow spandex, so it seems like it did two things. It set up the future of what comic movies would be, what the baseline would be, and then eventually get to the Dark Knight, but also turn people off the kind of campy stuff, right? Now, the thesis of this video is that now, since we've had the Dark Knight, now that we've had the Christian Bale Batman, we had very comic book accurate movies in the MCU and all this kind of stuff. We're now able to kind of take it for what it was. If Joel Schumacher's Batman, even Batman and Robin, was out now in 2019, I think people would have a much more favourable reaction to it.
Okay, that's a fair point. I still think even if you take out the controversial talking points like the Mr. Freeze ice puns and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
the plot's still a bit all over the place. Like they've got Bane in there,
Yeah.
and Alfred's dying, when like all this, and then there's Batgirl. I think it tries to do, even if you take out the talking points, it tries to do a little bit too much, and as a result, everything gets a bit watered down.
It does. It does. And the thing about that is, you know, it's just, it didn't know what it was. They were still trying to find its taste. And the thing about Joel Schumacher, I actually really like Joel Schumacher as a director. Turns out he's made some of my favourite films. I'm a big Kiefer Sutherland fan. He loves Kiefer Sutherland.
You're going to say Phone Booth, yeah?
I actually really like Phone Booth. I think that movie's fantastic.
That's one of my favourites, yeah.
It's so good. It's so underrated. But he did Flatliners, which I love too. Lost Boys. So it's like, you know, he's not a bad director. It just, he did something that was so left of what people were expecting that it caught people off guard. You know, Batman Forever... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, you go on. No, actually, what I was going to say, to be fair to him, like, I think it could be Midnight's Edge did cover the fact that he wanted to do dark things with Batman and Robin in particular, but the studio pressured him into going more family-friendly.
Yeah.
And there was like a Batman 5 where all of the Batman villains put him on trial, and like he was in the asylum. So to be fair to him, like, it could be that Batman and Robin isn't a fair representation of him and himself, you know?
I don't think it is. No, I think like the Batman Forever, I'm gonna stop this right here and just kind of swap over. The Batman Forever approach, I think, is the actual Joe Schumacher Batman. And you know what? That's perfect. I think that was a good kind of balance between everything. It was more family friendly, but also more colourful, more comic booky, but then had, you know, some really, really heavy gut punches there. You know, and look, the plot in Batman and Robin is actually not as bad as Dawn of Justice.
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Like, Dawn of Justice, the theatrical release is an absolute train wreck. So, and that was just dark. So it's like, I'd rather watch Batman and Robin than that, because at least Batman and Robin was kind of fun.
That's a good point. Batman and Robin is like, I mean, you can criticize it, but it's a film that's trying very hard to entertain you. It's trying a bit too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is throwing in lots and lots of stuff. Poor Arnold Schwarzenegger had like gels in his eyes and like all this kind of stuff.
Man,
and all
no,
this
I'm going to stop you there.
They were working hard on that film.
I'm going to stop you there. He got 15 million for the movie. He's in the movie for 15 minutes. He got $1 million per minute.
Who? Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Movies with Mikey did a breakdown. Like, he actually, like, I can't remember if it was the eyes or the tongue, but there was something about his costume and he worked through it. And, like, you know, I appreciate that. That's still cool. He just wanted it to all work and everything.
Yeah, and look, you know, I'd say, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, be patient with it. I think the thing about it is now, if you were to take a kid into the room and go, hey, look, we're going to show you a bunch of comic book movies, which one do you hate? And you showed them a bunch of Marvel movies, and then Batman and Robin and whatever. And then, you know, something darker like even the Dark Knight Rises. I honestly think the one that they'd hate would be the darker ones, because there's not much there. You know, I think the Dark Knight Rises is a very poor movie in the trilogy. The Dawn of Justice and the Superman, that whole DCEU thing. You know, it didn't really have any substance. It had a little bit of style, but then was just completely thrown away. At least with Joel Schumacher as a director, you know he has a lot to bring to the table, and he did. And I would say, look, maybe give it a watch. I watched Batman Forever a couple of years, 2 years ago. Still very good. Still a very good movie.
Oh yeah, Jim Carrey certainly makes it. And actually, you know what? I'd stand up for Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent too. I quite like him as well.
Yeah, and look, I like Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne. He's terrible Batman. Yeah. terrible Batman. He is really bad. And it's because he's not distinct. But as Bruce Wayne, he's quite a good Bruce Wayne, actually.
Well, you bring up a good point there. George Clooney has openly kind of mocked Batman and Robin several times over the years. Do you think that's worth taking into account, or?
No, I think that's just to win points. It's easy to beat up something that everybody hates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, there's nothing in that movie that I find grossly offensive. I could do without. I could do without the bat nipples. To be fair, it's just not needed. But the thing about it is, it's as a movie, it works. It's telling a story. The story makes sense, kind of. And it just does a little bit too much. You compare it to other Batman movies where he actually doesn't behave like the Batman. And here's the thing, actually. They do establish the way this Batman behaves very early on. The Batman that we... So it's consistent. The Batman that we see in The Dark Knight, for example, he's not consistent. He's not consistent at all. It's this makes no sense. Particularly when you get to The Dark Knight Rises. It's just completely different character. But that's a different discussion. What I'd say is, look, guys, it's time to get over the Joel Schumacher hate. Joel Schumacher's a good lad. But here's the funny thing about it is, in the Batman animated series, they actually do a joke based on Joel Schumacher. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
All right, so you can find the clip on YouTube. Just type in Joel Schumacher Batman the animated series, and it's a bunch of kids. They're telling a story about what they heard about Batman, and it's a bunch of kids just telling stories, and every time they tell a story, it refers back to a different form of Batman. So there's one where it's the 1960s cartoon, and then there's one that's in the style of The Dark Knight Returns with female Robin, and then they walk past the shoemaker shop. And then they're like, this kid walks out with a feta boa, and they're like, oh, hey Joel, and he's like, oh, if I had Batman, I'd have him in a rubber suit, and then I was kind of with his muscles and all that kind of stuff, and the kid's like, haha, you're so funny, Joel, and they walk away.
Oh, I'm gonna have to YouTube this afterwards. Speaking of which, actually, just so I can check out this video that you've recommended, what's the Batman and Robin video that we should all check out? Yes, so if you weren't watching on Twitch, the video is Learning to Appreciate Joel Schumacher's Batman by Patrick H. Williams. So do check it out. Patrick H. Williams. Yeah. And as a counterpoint to that, Lindsay Ellis has a wonderful breakdown of Phantom of the Opera, also by Joel Schumacher. Yes. Oh. Honestly, more directed by Andrew Lloyd Webber. So she breaks down his style as well. Oh, oof. Yeah, that's indeed. That's a whole different topic. It's a whole different topic. But something a little bit lighter. I'm really, really excited about something which I didn't think I was going to be, right? So, again, just to swap over screens here. I'm not a Nintendo fan that much, alright? I like Nintendo, but I'm still, Sega is where my heart is, right? So I'm still bitter about the whole Sega war, right? But, not even low key, man. I still haven't got over it. Even after all the bad Sonic games, you're still with Sega. Oh man, Sonic, I can forgive. But here's the thing, right? So I didn't get a Switch. It just didn't appeal to me. I'm like, oh, it's kind of silly, and I know some people love it, and that's cool, but I'm like, oh, it's a bit too much to carry around, right? But the Nintendo new Switch Lite, I'm very intrigued by. I think it's... Okay, so what's the difference between that and the original Switch? Well, it's actually a thing you can carry around, right? It's I know you can carry this, but I just fear losing pieces of it on the Lewis or something, Yeah. This one is it feels like it's like a big Game Boy, and it's just a singular thing that you can just now obviously the game pads and stuff aren't on it. It's just one complete system. It's actually it looks very much like the 2DS. Okay. So I'm probably going to pick that. Well, I definitely am going to pick this up. It's coming out on the 20th of September in the US, and I think it's the same in Europe as well. But it's launching with Pokemon Sword and Shield. So okay. Yeah, it's very, very nice. Now, one big thing to note is the Switch Lite won't be able to connect to the TV via the dock. It still uses USB-C to charge, like the larger Switch. But it does have a port, so you can't have the dock, but
they'll come around. And to be fair, look, I'd never plug this into the TV anyway. My portable, call me crazy, call me old school, but my portable gaming systems, I like to be portable. So,
I'd agree with you. I still have the original Nintendo DS and the PSP as my main go-to things.
Yeah, exactly. I still play the PSP a lot. I was actually fooling around with my 3DS today. So, I'm happy enough with that. But I think I'm going to give the Switch Lite a go because I think it's, a really nice bit of kit. What do you think, Keane? Are you a Switch fan, Nintendo fanboy? What's going on?
I am a Nintendo fan. I've still got my Nintendo 64, but I couldn't really find any games that gelled with me on the Nintendo Wii, apart from the Super Mario ones. So I haven't really picked up anything since that or the DS.
Right.
I have kind of backseat played Breath of the Wild, which actually I was going to ask you, what games would you be most excited to play on the Switch?
Well, see, that's the thing. I haven't really kind of, explored the Switch because I don't have one, and it's not really in my sphere now. Obviously, I know the games that are on it, but if I pick it up, then I'll probably get more into it. The Pokemon games are what's kind of pulling me in. I saw that the Mortal Kombat 11 port is crazy. So I'm kind of interested to check that out from a morbid standpoint, but
well, actually, let's dwell on Pokemon for a sec. Like, what I'm wondering is, because I haven't played a Pokemon game since maybe Pearl, the DS one. Like, what kind of Pokemon game offer that Pokemon Go doesn't offer for free?
Well, nothing's for free. That's the thing. They just want you to think it's for free.
No, Pokemon Go is for free.
Well, look, it's suppose it's a different experience. Like, there's not much of a story in Pokemon Go.
I suppose that's fair, yeah.
Pokemon Go was more just a AR kind of thing, more of a meme than anything else. But the games itself, you kind of want to invest in. And the thing about it is, I do a lot of traveling, so most of the gaming I do would be mobile. Now, I have a GDP Win, which is a tiny little computer, so that's how I play a lot of games from Steam. But I'd never actually get to sit down and play a new Pokemon game from start to finish like I would when I was a kid. So the fact now that I'd be able to have this and take it with me is what's appealing to me. Even if I'm not a fan of it, then I can just sell it or whatever. But it's what Nintendo should have done from the beginning. It's like offer people the choice, because I think Nintendo, for me, like, I have the Wii. I didn't like the Wii at all up until I hacked it and turned it into a little emulation station, which is it's really nice now. I play some GameCube games on it and stuff, so it actually serves a purpose now. But for me, I always think Nintendo's strong point is as a mobile thing. They're the games that you pick up and play for a couple of minutes or an hour or two if it's Pokemon. You wouldn't sit there and hockey 100 hours into it. You know what I mean? That's not what.
Well, I'm glad Nintendo are still around, because so many games now. I'm not really up to speed with the gaming kind of sphere and all that kind of stuff, but so many games seem to be very, very heavy and downbeat and time-consuming things. Like even the good ones like Cyberpunk or new God of War and stuff. I like gaming to relax, like, especially now that I've got a young kid. Like, so I'm really glad Nintendo are still offering just, little bits of fun experience. Like, that's kind of what I look for in a game.
Yeah, no, look, I'm the same too. You don't want everything to be so dour and downbeat. That said, though, I really wanted to play a game that had some kind of weight to it, like where you shoot something and it actually kind of feels satisfying. So I popped on Bulletstorm, and that just didn't do it. And then I'm like, oh wait, I have Doom 2016. I put on Doom and I was like, yeah, look, this is perfect. So I kind of contradicted myself there, but you know what I mean. Like, the main thing about gaming is that you have choice, and it's important that you can play a Doom, but then you can also play a Mario or Pokemon. It's. I think for a while there, it was the case for a while, particularly with the 360, where everything was gunmetal grey, and you couldn't play a game with a child in the room. Even with a an 8-year-old, 10-year-old in the room, because you're blowing some guy's head off. That's not good. To kind of see. But no, I agree with you, man. I'm happy Nintendo are around now. still would rather it was Sega, but it is what it is. Actually, here's the funny thing. Like, I don't know. Have you ever played the Dreamcast, man?
No, I haven't.
Oh, Dreamcast is great. But for anyone who's a fan of the Dreamcast, and you should be, they've released a new, not they, collectively the internet, there's a new upscaler where you can basically go straight in HDMI, so you can play your awesome fighting series games in full 720. Some of the best fighting games actually are on the Dreamcast, like Guilty Gear. So definitely give it a look, man, if you have a chance, or even some of the series that came off it. If you're into fighting games, Guilty Gear is the series to follow.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm certainly excited by the prospect of a 2DS as well. So,
Oh, yeah.
or not 2DS. Oh, what's it called? Nintendo Switch Lite.
Switch Lite, yeah. Yeah, so that's it, man. And you know what? Again, we've reached time. I have to say, and I know I said every week, but it's true. This is like the quickest hour of the week for me. It's
well,
ridiculous.
you get talking about Batman and Robin, days disappear.
Oh, it's crazy. But, Keenan, is there anything you'd like to plug before we wrap up here, sir?
No, I suppose just one more time, our own Comic-Con panel on the Sunday. We're on Sunday at 3 o'clock in panel room 1. And our panel will be called Everything is Wrestling, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Literally everything is wrestling.
And basically the concept is, I should say, I'm not a wrestling fan at all, but the concept is that yourself and Bryn can somehow tie everything back to wrestling. So if I said Sherlock Holmes, you would find some way to tie it back to wrestling, right?
Correct. And the thing about it is, Keen, you're not a wrestling fan, which is great. That's who we want. Guys, if you're not a wrestling fan, please come. Because...
yeah, sorry, go on.
No, but that's the thing, because, we're going to be taking your suggestions, along with the ones that Keen comes up with, and we're going to tie it all back to wrestling, because everything does come back to wrestling.
Excellent. And as he said, if you want to hit us up on Facebook or on Twitter or anything with ideas, they will certainly end up in the show. We'll do what we can.
Yeah.
Of course, you're more than welcome to come along and see us live and heckle us. I believe one friend of mine has threatened to turn up and throw superhero underwear, so it'll be an interesting one.
That's fantastic. I love it. And, hopefully there is a turnout. It's our first time doing this. It's our first time kind of doing anything, in this format. So, hopefully it's the first of many. We'll have some cards and stuff like that as well. So, if you're around Comic-Con on Sunday, pop in and, tell me why I'm wrong about Harry Potter.
Oh, that's we'll save that for the one next part.
Exactly. We're gonna save that one. But guys.
Or why you're wrong about Batman and Robin. Just come on and tell Dara why he's wrong.
Remember, guys, if you are checking us out on Phoenix 92.5 FM, we're not going anywhere. We're at the same time slot, 5 p.m. on Saturday, but we will be doing the show on Twitch Thursday nights anyway. So thanks very much for everyone who joined us on Twitch as well. So until next week, we're Nerd to Know Basis here on Nerd to Know Media and Phoenix 92.5 FM. I'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you again soon.